Hi everyone, I'm Dcielo, and in this video, as well as in the ones to come, I'll be sharing the complete process of creating this small acrylic painting. Starting with this piece, I'll be using my MetaQuest 2 headset more frequently to transfer my drawings onto the canvas. It serves as a guide for the overall proportions, allowing me to refine the details by hand afterward. I first saw other artists using virtual reality headsets to create large-scale murals, which inspired me to experiment with the same approach in my own work. Here, you can see the results. Although the MetaQuest 3 offers greater precision, my Quest 2 is more than capable of helping me accurately block in the main shapes and composition before I begin painting. At this stage, I've started laying in the drawing. In future videos, I might show you exactly what I see through the headset, so you can better understand how the process works. At first, it felt quite confusing because I wasn't used to working this way. But after a while, you naturally adapt, and it becomes much easier to place the main shapes. Even so, you'll still need to refine the drawing by correcting the proportions and developing all the details by hand. This is how the drawing looks after using the headset. As you can see, it's only a rough guide. At this stage, my focus is on refining it and really bringing the drawing to life. I'm using a mechanical pencil for the finer lines and an eraser to remove and correct the sketch where needed. I don't mind erasing and redrawing as many times as necessary to achieve the right proportions, since all of these construction lines will eventually be covered by the paint. Each stage of this painting will be uploaded as a separate video. I prefer this format because a single video covering the entire process would be much too long, and I personally enjoy shorter tutorials as well. This way, you can follow the painting step by step, watch only the parts that interest you most, or simply continue through the series in order as the artwork comes to life. I usually begin drawing on the side opposite my drawing hand. Since I'm right-handed, I start on the left side of the composition and gradually work my way to the right. This helps prevent me from smudging areas I've already finished as my hand moves across the drawing, and I follow the same approach when painting. I've had plenty of accidents over the years where I accidentally smeared parts that were already well developed, simply because I didn't stick to this routine. If you've ever painted or drawn, you've probably experienced the same thing and had to fix it afterward. It's easier to correct with oil paint, since it stays wet much longer, but acrylics dry so quickly that it can become a bit more challenging. Of course, when drawing, you can also wear an artist's glove, or simply place a sheet of paper under your hand. Personally, I sometimes use a soft cloth, which is also very handy for brushing away eraser dust as I work. This goblet is one of my favorite objects to paint, along with several others in a similar style. I find them incredibly elegant. I've tried to find one like this for my own collection, but so far I haven't had any luck. Because of that, I often rely on reference objects found in 17th century Dutch Baroque paintings. One of the artists who has influenced me the most is Willem Claes, Hedda. His mastery of light, reflections, textures, and composition is truly remarkable, and his paintings continue to inspire my work. The title of this painting is By Candlelight and Bread, and it's part of a larger series I plan to create, with a candle appearing in every composition. In future videos, I'll be sharing some of my earlier works, and you can also see more of my paintings on my Instagram. For a long time, I stepped away from painting, but recently, I've returned to it. While it's true that we never completely forget what we've learned, we do lose practice and precision over time. The more we practice a skill, the more naturally it becomes part of us. As the saying goes, repetition is the mother of all learning. As I paint, I often end up changing certain parts of the drawing or adding new elements. Once color and volume begin to take shape, it's much easier to judge what works best in the composition. For example, I don't always draw every edge of an object. On the plate, for instance, I've intentionally left out some of the contours because I prefer to define them later with the paint itself and the thickness of the brushstrokes. In this case, as I mentioned earlier, I'll be working with acrylics throughout the painting. I often study 2 or more reference images of the same object, whether they come from different paintings or from modern photographs. This gives me a better understanding of its form and allows me to make artistic decisions rather than simply copying a single reference. Because of that, I sometimes change certain features of an object. For example, I might redesign the lid, the handle, or the spout of a teapot if I feel it creates a stronger composition or works better with the scale of the painting and the relationship between the surrounding objects. With the drawing complete, I prepare a mixture of burnt sienna and yellow to create a warm ochre tone, which I apply as a uniform base color over the entire painting. This gives me a harmonious surface and prepares the canvas for the layers of color that will follow. I also created a very simple grisaille. This traditional technique consists of establishing the forms with shades of gray, sepia, or brown to better understand the volume and structure of each object before introducing color. In my case, I keep it very subtle, using only burnt sienna to strengthen the darker areas and get a clearer sense of the overall composition. That brings us to the end of this first part. I hope you enjoyed it and found it interesting. I'll be uploading part 2 very soon, where we'll continue bringing this painting to life. Thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful day.